hard, not even with the blue pills. Will the salt trick work for me? All right, pay attention. You're over 30.
Fucking ignorant motherfucking shit right there.
so strong these days. Lots of people lose weight. Bravo, nice. Now you gotta stay strong. Right Atkins strong. Protein, 7 grams, 3 grams of fiber. Stay.
Give me a place to goodbye. I can make you respectable, man. The song comes if I get older, so long, impossible, deep in my heart. Long nights. Long nights.
Connor here. Are you working on the heel? More about Hillsdale College. Incredibly generous scholarship. More than 35 years, Fisher House has been there for more than $610 million. The foundation is on the road to building 100 Fisher Houses across the country and overseas. Learn more at fisherhouse.org. O'Connor here. Are you working on the Hill or a think tank, or are you a young professional desiring a career in American college? Learn more about Hillsdale College's part-time and employment degree and incredibly generous student.
Sometimes it feels like the world's something in hyperspeed and you can't keep up because funding and another perfect moment and market blocking the other space of the thing. And feel free from panoramic movement. Function feed runs away a tenth of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest stuff is not watching at all. Stop the only one at nissancity.com. Something whether it can see available features.
Working hard is working if you're seeing it. You're working out the same thing. Some benefit of the time is good. And look, when you say to Rush, Total 2, you can ensure your is tailored and effective than ever. Total's at-home strength training system uses adaptive weight to learn from your movement and set optimal weight for every move. And in one package for up to 250 pounds, challenging even the most advanced users to push their limits. You can also experience a full body burn with the new Arrowhead workout, the perfect blend of heart-pumping cardio and strength. Plus, the new built-in Smart View leverages a high-resolution camera that lets you see yourself during your workout, analyzes your movement, and provides real-time coaching, just like a personal trainer. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code TONAL200. That's Tonal.com and use promo code TONAL200 for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code TONAL200 for $200 off and off.
Here's Michelle Murray in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center. Still going traffic on the George Washington Parkway southbound between the CIA and 123, and more delays from the Roosevelt Bridge headed to the 14th Street Bridge. 395 is jammed up northbound from 110 to the 14th Street Bridge, and southbound you'll find delays between Washington Boulevard and the Beltway. Earlier accidents on eastbound 66 between Fairfax Drive and Glebe Road moved to the right shoulder, still very slow from the Leesburg Pike. Westbound 66, some delays from the Beltway to 123, and then westbound at 29 in Centerville, a disabled tractor trailer blocks at two left lanes and traffic is jammed from Monument Drive. Now from GarageDoorRepair.com, the WMAL Storm Watch 7 forecast.
Spotty showers ending this evening with temperatures falling to 48 to about 53 degrees for Friday afternoon. It will be breezy with winds around 30 miles per hour, 52 to 57 degrees. Back to sunshine. 7 News Chief Meteorologist Veronica Johnson in the First Alert Weather Center.
Right now, 60 degrees in Washington. I'm Heather Curtis. Sun News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. Mark Levin.
The bowels of a hidden bunker somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building. We've once again made contact with a leader of crime, Levin.
Mr. President, less than 1% of all fentanyl that comes into the U.S. is apprehended at the Canadian border. So why is fentanyl as a reason?
Be apprehending much more. They're only apprehending 1%. You're right about that. A little more than that. But they should be apprehending much more because a lot comes through Canada. And as Mexico gets stronger in terms of the border, it goes up to Canada. And a lot of drugs are coming in through Canada. We can't have that.
Yeah, so that happened with the president today with the UK visit from the Prime Minister, Summer. Also, the invitation to go see the King of England. What isn't happening today looks like real disclosure. We'll talk about that with Epstein and those files kind of being a wah type of situation. Yet again, it looks like, but there's so much to unpack in that particular story. And the federal budget, it is the key to making America great again. What's going on budgetarily, right? I was like, budget talk, I know. Talk sexy to me, right? It's the budget. Yeah. No, but actually, it is the key to making America great again. And so we're going to dive into that here in just a moment. By the way, speaking of things that Trump is doing with foreign dignitaries, I mean, while Starmer was pretty much just trying to suck up to President Trump today and go, I know I'm the Labour Party leader of England, which means I'm just a big wuss in life without a lot of power or influence. But Mr. President, please don't tear us to death over here. And he's like, yeah, no. And so you see what I'm doing with Canada over here while I'm talking about imposing 25% tariffs on the EU, because, I mean, really, the EU was set up to screw the United States. That was something he said yesterday. So anyway, as all this stuff is going on, it's just so great to see him not pulling any punches. This, of course, is not Mark, by the way. Mark, unfortunately, a little under the weather today. However, have it on good authority that the Great One will be back tomorrow evening. Maybe what's really going on today is he's just kind of, I know he's not feeling well, but he also needs a little time to consult with the President of the United States on the big, beautiful museum that is going to be dedicated to Levin's work. It's one of the all-time great truths that was posted by President Trump earlier this week, if you happen to miss it, about Mark. That was pretty neat, just talking to Mr. Producer about that. But no, what we continue to see is Trump on all fronts have success, win for this country, win for the American people. And by the way, we're about to get one of the all-time great examples tomorrow as well, as you're going to have Volodymyr Zelensky visiting the White House. And as Zelensky makes his way to D.C. tomorrow, we're hearing that there's going to be this big, beautiful deal that's going to be done with Ukraine, right? And the big, beautiful deal is going to include mineral rights that will pay the United States back billions. And just real quick on that, because we'll wait for all the details to emerge. Think about what happened with every other president. And by the way, this even includes, past Republican presidents too. All we ever do is give, right? We're $36.5 trillion in debt. All we ever do is give money that we don't have. We borrow against ourselves to give all these foreign countries everything in the world, and we never get anything in return. Trump talked about what a horrible deal the entire giveaway process was with the Biden administration, with Ukraine. And even now, on the back end, what is he doing? He's able to recuperate. He's able to think strategically. Ukraine may not have a lot of money right now, but you know what they got? They got resources. You give us some of the resources that we want. We'll take that as collateral for everything that we've given you so far. And by the way, if we have Americans that are on the ground doing some mining and what have you working on the ground, there's a pretty good chance that Russia is not going to be bombing Ukraine in those areas, don't you think? So we actually just having a physical presence in your country will help make your country a little bit safer as we work towards that ceasefire deal. It's just absolute brilliance you don't ever get from another United States president. It is phenomenal to see. But yes, this is Brian Mudd with you this evening. And of course, the host of the Brian Mudd Show, my home station, WJNO in West Palm Beach. You can catch me socially at Brian Mudd Radio, and my podcast, the Brian Mudd Show, wherever you get your podcasts. Sure would appreciate it. Go ahead and make that one of your go-tos. Now, let me talk a little bit about this budget piece being the key to making America great again. Because what has happened here the past week is of utmost importance, even as it is painfully boring to kind of go through the details. Even for a wonk like me, I'm not going to make it a painfully boring process for you. But we do live in the era of Doge now, where, cost savings and budget stuff, it may not sound as boring as it used to. In fact, some of the first cracks at taking a look at what's really going on with the budget process, the two pieces that had been taking place in the Senate, which was not the preferred approach, but did pass the first piece of it. And then the big, beautiful bill that ended up making its way through the first process for budget reconciliation on Tuesday. When I'm looking into the details of this stuff, it does kind of excite me. And if you care about the future of the country, you care about what your tax money is being thrown into, probably will care too. Because what Doge is doing to evaluate federal spending and to begin to right-size the federal government is critically important work. But also,
Pardon me.
it's what's actually being spent, right? Being allocated and what's being spent. So we know that Doge has won a series of legal challenges of late, allowing their work to continue right down to the mass layoffs at USAID today and the extended halting of the entity's funding by the United States Supreme Court.
Wow.
So the administration can look through it further. Which, by the way, I mean, that whole thing, you hear all the sob stories about USAID, and they only were given 15 minutes to go in and get their things. And here are people that are leaving and staying with their life's work in their hands. It's almost like a quote from an AP story earlier today. You know what happens in the real world most often when somebody gets laid off, and people in the real world know this? You typically have no heads up, and these days, you don't even go back to your office to collect your things. They will tell you, yeah, we'll go ahead and collect them for you and then ship it to your house. Even in the layoff process here, as Doge is winding down most of USAID, it's still divorced from the real world. And then you've got all the paid protesters that are out there supporting the USAID workers who they didn't even know existed until somebody paid them to go show up and make it look like they cared and hold some signs in the I mean, it's rich. It's rich. But anyway, you've got two ways you can cut the size of the federal government. The way the Doge is currently doing it, by identifying and eliminating wasteful government programs, finding all these absurd agencies. I mean, the 430 godforsaken federal stinking agencies that not a single member of Congress could name, but members of Congress fund. It is the biggest load of BS in all of budgeting for a very long time. But anyway, you identify wasteful government programs. You look to shrink bloated federal government agencies.
You're such a fucking punk motherfucker.
The other way, and actually the preferable way, the way that Congress can do it. And that's by either passing legislation to put an end to certain agencies. That would be great. Or at a minimum, you defund them. I mean, after all, any government agency, what are they beholden to? I mean, ultimately, whatever they're given the resources by Congress to do, right? So if you take away the money, what happens there? I mean, the rest is pretty much academic. Yeah, in theory, you could have an agency that exists, but just defund the damn thing. And I mean, Doge's work is done in that particular. And this is where Doge's role right now is incredibly instructive, more so than just the stuff that hits the news in the day-to-day. Just as the Senate is to provide advice and consent for judges, justices, executive branch cabinet members, as they've been doing at a pretty steady pace, Doge is also effectively providing advice, if not consent, for what spending should and should not be in many federal departments and agencies. And most importantly, Congress seems to be listening. What we have in front of us right now is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. When was the last time the world's most successful man dedicated himself to trying to make the country run as well as his companies? So what Doge is doing is truly the dirty work that's required to make America great again. And it's critically important that we don't waste this moment in time, this budget process that's going on right now. And on that note, when Musk set out to lead Doge, he outlined $2 trillion in spending cuts. He said that was the best case outcome. And also, if you take a look at what happened last year, look at that. We ran a deficit of $1.83 trillion. Boy, essentially a needed outcome. Getting to 2 trillion, people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know how we would do that. If we got to 2 trillion, all we would do is basically not run a deficit. And you have people like, there's no way we could do that. But even Elon, in a pragmatic moment, said, look, I think if we try for 2 trillion, we got a good shot at getting 1. So anyway, I guess you got to start somewhere, right? The old, how do you eat an elephant thing? So with 6.8 trillion in annual federal spending, cutting $1 trillion, that would equal 15% of total federal spending. Now, in your budget, if you really had to get tough, you were going through a real crunch, you needed to get efficient, think you could find 15% savings? And so the point here is it's entirely doable. And frankly, 2 trillion needs to be too. And that was what the House resolution called for. They getting up to that 2 trillion mark. But here is the good news. It takes me back to this not just being like boring budget talk kind of stuff, which I really have been trying to avoid. One of the biggest areas that is sought for savings, Medicaid. Now, you're hearing Chuck Schumer and company try to scare the bejesus out of everybody. Oh, they're gonna take Medicaid away and people are gonna die in the streets now. You know, an initial review of Medicaid shows that $800 billion in savings can be achieved by simply applying work requirements that used to be back in place. I'll repeat that. $800 billion in savings can be achieved in Medicaid by simply applying work requirements that used to be in place back into place. And why? Oh, that's a story for you. I'm going to break that down for you next. I'm Brian Mudd, in for the great one.
What? News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
After more than a year of war, terror, and pain in Israel, there's still a great demand for basic humanitarian aid. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has supported and continues to support those in the Holy Land, still facing the lingering horrors of war and terrorism, and those who are in desperate need right now. Your ongoing monthly tax-deductible gift of $45 will provide critically needed aid immediately to communities in the North and South devastated by this ongoing war. And your generosity to the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews will deliver help to those in need, including evacuees and refugees from war-torn areas, elderly Holocaust survivors, families who've lost everything, and many, many more. You can provide hope during a time of great danger and uncertainty. So please call 844-866-IFCJ and give them your support, please. That's 844-866-IFCJ, 844-866-IFCJ.
On westbound 66 at Route 29 in Centerville, a disabled tractor trailer blocks the 2 left lanes and traffic is jammed from Monument Drive. Also, some slowdowns westbound between the Beltway and 123, and eastbound is slow from the Leesburg Pike to Glebe Road, where an accident has been moved to the shoulder. You will still find delays right now traveling on the Beltway Inner Loop between the Leesburg Pike and the 270 spur. Delays continue through Bethesda in towards College Park. Outer Loop heavy from the toll road towards 236 and from the Springfield interchange to the Wilson Bridge. In the district in Northwest, there is an accident to watch out for on 15th Street at East Street. Now from GarageDoorRepair.com, the WMAL Storm Watch 7 forecast.
Tonight, clearing, a low around 40. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, windy, a high near 55.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Working hard is worth it if you're seeing results. And when it comes to working out, the same thing is true. You want the maximum benefit in the time you have, and that's exactly what Tonal is built for. And with their latest iteration, Tonal 2, you can ensure your workout is more tailored and effective than ever. Tonal's at-home strength training system uses adaptive weight to learn from your movement and set the optimal weight for every move, adjusting in 1-pound increments up to 250 pounds, challenging even the most advanced users to push their limits. You can also experience a full-body burn with the new Arrowhead workouts, the perfect blend of heart-pumping cardio and strength. Plus, the new built-in Smart View leverages a high-resolution camera that lets you see yourself during your workout, analyzes your movement, and provides real-time coaching, just like a personal trainer. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code TONAL200. That's Tonal.com and use promo code TONAL200 for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code TONAL200 for $200 off.
LifeLock, during tax season, your sensitive info does a lot of traveling to places you can't control, stopping off at payroll, your accountant or a tax preparer, and countless other data centers on its way to the IRS. Any of them can expose you to identity theft because they all have the info in your W-2. Just a ticket for criminals to steal your identity. I had my identity stolen. It was horrible. I got LifeLock. I've been a customer ever since. I've never, ever had that problem again. No wonder the IRS reported tax fraud due to identity theft went up 20% last year. Get LifeLock today. Don't get your identity stolen. They monitor millions of data points per second and alert you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 million protection package. Restoration's guaranteed or your money back. Don't mess around with this stuff. I dealt with this for a long time before I had LifeLock. Don't let identity thieves take you for a ride. Get LifeLock protection for tax season and beyond. Join now, save up to 40% for your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock, use promo code Bongino, or go to LifeLock.com/Bongino for 40% off. Terms apply. Do it today.
Happy kids heal faster. That's why Starlight Children's Foundation delivers happiness through gaming, toy deliveries, and more to hospitals across the country. Learn more at starlight.org.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Growing Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
WMAL, making sense of the roads, because traffic doesn't always follow the pattern. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Remarks at the Munich Security Conference, Vice President Vance condemned free speech violations in the UK. Particularly, could you respond? What is your?
Well, I have an idea. We have the man right here. Come on. Here, JD. We're putting you on stage.
Great. Yeah, look, I said what I said, which is that we do have a professional relationship with our friends in the UK and also with some of our European allies. But we also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British. Of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and by extension, American citizens. So that is something that we'll talk about today at lunch.
Vice President J.D. Vance. It's one of the things that's so great about him, too, is he's quick. Like Trump says, go. And he's on it, and he nails it. And it's one more reminder that we should never take for granted the rights we have here that so many of us do. Because, yeah, I mean, you don't have freedom of expression almost anywhere else in the world. Not true freedom of expression. You don't have it throughout Europe. You know, and so we grow up taking for granted all these things, and JD calling a spade, and there goes. Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin, and talking about the budget process, what's going on here, and how critical it is to the Make America Great Again agenda. And I left off mentioning that one of the big things that, and this already has become a big thing, it's going to get a lot louder as this budget process advances, Medicaid, because the left is going to say that the Republicans are killing you. And they're going to kill everyone who's on Medicaid by taking away. And the reality is $800 billion in Medicaid savings can be achieved, not by taking it away from people, but actually saying, hold on, you're an adult, you're able-bodied, and you're not choosing to work full-time. Why is that again? See, because the number, man, let me ask you, what percentage of able-bodied adults on Medicaid are working full-time. You got a number in mind? Try 44%. That's right. Only 44% of adults working age on Medicaid are working full-time. In an environment, by the way, where we have a really low unemployment rate. In an environment where you got a lot of companies that have been looking for people and having trouble filling a lot of positions. And still, they're just sitting there sucking on the government teat because, well, they can. Now, it's about getting back to work, which, by the way, will be better for these people that are gaming the system right now anyway. So, in other words, it's a choice for most people on Medicaid to not even attempt to do anything here, much less to actually do it. I don't think, the old saying about a little work never killed anyone. I think a little work will actually kill these people. So that is a big lie by the left on Medicaid. And the abuse of Medicaid, along with other federal government programs, because keep in mind, they're scamming Medicaid. It's a lot of other programs too. It's all courtesy of the tax dollars that are paid by you. But yes, as it is going to get loud with that, it's important to know what the truth of the situation really is. Be right back with you.
Hey, it's big. Rob Schmidt recently beat CNN in key ratings as millions are tuning into Newsmax. Every night, Rob Schmidt is on Newsmax revealing the truth about Elon Musk's Doge. Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern and find out why Rob is the hottest person in cable news. Even President Trump is watching, and he says Newsmax is terrific. Reuters Institute reports that Newsmax is now one of the top news brands in America. Find out why. Just check out Newsmax on your cable system. Get Rob Schmidt with Greta Van Susteren, Rob Finnerty, and much more. Download the free Newsmax app on your smartphone or home TV to start watching. It takes just seconds. With Newsmax Plus, you can watch our great shows anytime. Go to newsmaxplus.com and start your free trial. That's newsmaxplus.com. Make the switch to Newsmax today.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington. Plus Media Station. Making sense of the news. It's 5.9. News now.
UMAL News at 6:30. I'm Heather Curtis. Governor Glenn Youngkin signs an executive order directing state police and corrections officers to work with ICE to deport criminal illegal immigrants. It will create a task force of federally deputized state troopers and train corrections officers to be designated immigration officers. It also requests localities cooperate with ICE to enforce federal immigration law, which some say is not their job. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says after a White House meeting with President Trump today, they're determined to work together to end the war in Ukraine, adding the UK is ready
to put boots on the ground and planes in the air to support a deal.
When asked if the U.S. would send a peacekeeping force,
I don't like to talk about peacekeeping until we have a deal.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky meeting with President Trump at the White House tomorrow. Traffic and weather next.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather-appointed seats are available features.
This is my new best friend, Esther. She might look like any normal, playful puppy, but Esther's being raised to become a canine companion for independence assistance dog for a person with a disability. To get there, she needs lots of love and care and attention, plenty of exercise, and good eating habits so that she can live a long and healthy life for her future family. Visit tci.org or call 1-800-572-BARK. Raise a puppy, change a life. You can make a world of difference in the life of a person with a disability.
We're the stronger than we look type. I've had type 1 diabetes since I was 2. The braver than you think type.
I have to take insulin shots every single day.
The type that will stop at nothing.
No more blood sugar tests.
Absolutely nothing.
No more complications.
Until type 1 becomes type none.
Support JDRF's life-changing research, and one day you'll say, I helped turn type 1 into type none. Join us now at jdrf.org.
If you're listening to sports, you're looking for an edge rusher, looking for a run stuffer, you're looking for a big-time player in the middle of your defense, you're in luck. Mixed with pop culture, sprinkled with celebrity interviews. The title Everybody Loves Raiders. That's true. It's inappropriate for you. We'll tell people to hurry it up. It's appropriate on character enthusiasm. Bill Burr is here. Defeated to get that title as best dad ever. Saga of dads. You're enjoying the Rich Eisen Show podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Making sense of your world on the go. Reading your favorite show, get the day's top headline, and access our podcast archive, all with the new WMAL app. This is for you. Get the WMAL app on Google Play or the Apple App Store and stay connected.
Imagine the hospital experience. There's a constant parade of serious doctors and countless tests and a serious diagnosis. Scary surgeries are followed by painful recoveries. You're in the hospital for days, weeks, months. Now imagine you're a child. This is why Starlight exists. Starlight programs help kids in the hospital cope, build resilience, bolster confidence, and change their outlook, because happiness matters. Visit starlight.org to learn more.
Making sense of your world. News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Thanks for taking my call.
Making sense of the news. Breaking news and the inside story on 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
God doesn't suffer fools win. No, you're a fool. Don't call 877-381-4811.
And I do think it should be said, when President Trump was running against Kamala Harris and they had a debate about the border, Harris said, because the border was what it was, there was a lot of legacy media that tried to act like it wasn't a big deal, but people saw what was happening. So it wasn't credible to say that it wasn't happening. So what Harris said was, well, we wanted an immigration bill and you guys helped tank it. That would have helped us secure the border. And then candidate Trump turned to her and said, you don't need a bill, just do it. So he became president, and what happened? Did he need a bill to secure our country? No, he just did it.
Love my gov. That is, of course, the sound of Florida's governor, Ron DeSantis. And boom, it's an all of the above approach on these issues, right? Doge, for example, as we've been talking about, they're doing it from their end. But it's also critically important as well to do it on the congressional end. And so what DeSantis is pointing out that, Trump has taken all the executive action thus far that's been necessary to stop the crisis. We have even attempted border crossings that are now down 95% from where they were when Biden was president, let alone everything else that's been taking place with the arrests, the deportations. And so you do what you can, but then you need the lasting policy to follow through as well. And if you can get both pieces moving in the right direction, that's when you can truly make America great again and put into motion things that can't just necessarily be undone by a subsequent president as well, which is also really important. Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin. Mark is under the weather today. We fully anticipate that he will be strong, full-voiced, and ready to roar on tomorrow evening's show. But as we are kind of working through, I'm talking about the importance of the budget process right now and the MAGA agenda, and walking you through a couple things that are really important, because the scam artists on the left are already trying to weaponize the savings that Republicans are working on congressionally. And really, when we talk about savings, not only is it necessary for this country, but it's so that you don't get scammed, because the Medicaid savings, as I was talking about, $800 billion in savings, it's achieved by simply putting work requirements back into place. Like saying, hey, if you're an adult and you're able-bodied, work full-time. How about working full-time? Is that really so much to ask? But only 44% are actually doing it. And so, again, it's why it's important to know the truth. And that's true. It's not just that our border, DeSantis is talking about the border situation. The border and the asylum processes that have been abused, because they have. It's not just foreign aid that has been abused, USAID and all those things, and then also just all the handouts, the giveaways to countries around the world, including to Ukraine, which you always hear about clawbacks, like when money shouldn't have been given for something by the government, and you actually have somebody responsible that tries to get that money back. It's called a clawback. You have Trump that tomorrow is going to work on a clawback of sorts with Ukraine and mineral rights. But unsurprisingly, domestic government assistance programs have been and are rampantly being abused by people who are perfectly capable of working to support themselves and their families, but they choose not to. I've got enough going on here, which, by the way, is so unfair to so many of these people anyway, because it is not a healthy thing. It's not certainly the American dream just to get enough government assistance programs so you can be comfortable. Nobody reaches their full potential that way. But that is ultimately what people that are put into the system that way are trained to do. So addressing these abuses is another benefit of DOJ doing its job to pressure Congress to do a much, much better job. And I don't know, actually representing our interests, something that they have been pretty often not doing, right? Whose interests have been best represented by Congress in recent years? Yours? Illegal immigrants? Foreign interest? So anyway, about that, based on DOJ's initial findings, I got another whopper here for you. This was as studied by the House DOJ subcommittee. Okay, so you got DOJ, but then you've also got the House DOJ subcommittee. What percentage of federal government spending is waste, fraud, and abuse? So far, the House DOJ subcommittee has found how much, what percentage is just outright waste, fraud, and abuse. Before we even get into philosophical discussions about what we should and shouldn't be doing, the answer they came up with is 20%, or $1.4 trillion this year. So in other words, even if we cut at $1 trillion, we would still have like $400 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse that would be going out the door. So here's the next piece of this that is beyond instructive. You know what kind of business you would have if 20% of all of your business's spending was waste, fraud, and abuse? You'd have a business that is out of business, right? So to that end, you know what the private sector waste, fraud, and abuse rate is? Averages 3%. Private sector fraud and abuse checks in at 3%. What does that tell you about the government efficiency? The federal government runs 667% less efficiently than the average business. I'll repeat. The federal government runs 667% less efficiently than the average business. Now, I'm not talking about a world-class, incredibly well-run Elon Musk-like managed business. I'm not talking about a SpaceX or a Tesla or even a Boring Company. No, I'm talking just your, hey, you know what? We're getting by. We're paying the bills. We're keeping people employed. We're doing okay today business. Operates almost 7 times more efficiently than your federal government. So if this country will be made great again, the budget will absolutely be the key to being able to do so. And that's why what's happening right now with these committee reviews, with the votes that have taken place in the Senate and the House, is so critical. So yeah, the whole idea, budget talk, not exactly an exhilarating topic, but what's happening with it right now is absolutely the key to President Trump's MAGA story. And I have a bit more on some of the inner workings of this coming up in just a bit, along with all illegals being criminals, because it ties in too. Let's go to Michelle, who is in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi.
We've got you loud and clear.
All right. So Medicaid is going to be cut and people are going to die. Stop lying to people.
Okay, so I see Trump lied, Musk lied, Congress lied, Brian Mudd lied, people died. That's what we got going on. So stop lying. What have I lied about? Or what have I said that is inaccurate?
Well, Doge is lying all the time. Everybody's lying. Are you
Yeah, they're all lying. Okay, it's very good. So what specifically have I lied about?
I will give you, okay. When Trump was running for president, he said he would bring prices down.
Okay, hold on. Inflation thing's a whole other thing. And if we're talking about inflation, a month into his presidency, I mean, please. But you just accused all of us of lying, but me specifically through my analysis, where I have illustrated that only 44% of able-bodied adults on Medicaid are working full-time. You're calling me a liar. So I want to know how or why it is that I'm lying. You're putting that out there. I'm willing to have a conversation about this. So where am I wrong in this?
So how many of those 44% are disabled or in some way impaired and they cannot work?
So the 44% of the ones working full-time, so the ones who are actually ill or disabled in real time, it totals 10% of Medicaid recipients. And by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean they can't work. There are plenty of people that either are ill or that do have disabilities that do work. And so even that in and of itself is an excuse. But to answer your question, the number is 10% that might have some type of other impairment in real time that might inhibit the work. Even if I gave you credit for them, now we are up to 54% who are working. Go.
And how many are under?
All right, thank you. I think we've illustrated our point here. And so, yeah. And by the way, where that actually comes from, a couple of different things. It's census data. It's last year's census data that provides information on recipients of Medicaid, populations, and it also is using an analysis from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, which, by the way, is actually anti-Doge and the Trump administration. But even their research illustrates the point. So there you go. Two sides to stories, one side to facts, as I like to say. Let's go to Sandra in North Trenton, New Jersey, WABC. Hey, Sandra.
Oh, hello, Brian. How are you?
Doing well.
I'm glad to hear that, and I hope Mark Levin feels better. I'm thinking about Zelensky. Yeah, I'm thinking about Zelensky lately. I used to like him, and I feel very bad what's happening in his country, but I no longer seem to trust him. I woke up one morning, the TV was on, and all of a sudden he was there having an interview. I was very, very unimpressed with how he comes across and what he says. And then I'm thinking about how much money the Biden administration gave him, and I often hear, where did it go? And now he's trying to make deals with Donald Trump, and they're not going his way, and he's losing his power, he's losing his muscles, whatever you want to call it, little by little. And I'm beginning to think he's like a little wimp deep down, almost like the Wizard of Oz. He comes out of the curtain, and he's not that powerful person like you thought. So.
Yeah, I hear it. There's one person in that family that is definitely not a wimp, and that is his brother, who was the former heavyweight champion of the world. Now, I mean, look, and I hear what you're saying, and I think ultimately perspective is key in these things. Historically, Ukraine has been a corrupt country. And let's not forget, where was Hunter Biden on the board of an energy company? Where was that company, right? So, the Burisma and everything, there have been ties to Ukraine that have been corrupt for a very long time. And so Zelensky was actually supposed to come in and be the reformer. And hopefully he more or less has been. Hopefully he's more honest than not. But I mean, just expecting that he got in there and he's entirely clean and everybody in his government is entirely clean and everything's been on the up and up. And then you start putting the information together and money goes missing and they can't tell you where it's going. And he just wants more of it. And every time, right? You put the pieces together and it does begin to paint a picture. So whatever Zelensky is or isn't, it is one thing. The likelihood that our money has gone to an effective cause is another. And the bottom line is this war goes nowhere, right? Ukraine is not going to win it. We can keep funding things and have people die and send money that we don't have, or we could do something about it. And we're doing something about it. And that doing something about it also includes getting money back in the form of mineral rights that Trump is working on right now. So yeah, there are a lot of different ways to get from here to there. And it is so refreshing to have a president that actually gets it. Tomorrow with Zelensky should be interesting. I'm Brian Mudd, in for the great one.
Mudd Logan.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Much activity now to watch out for on DC 295 southbound at the 11th Street Bridge, and that has traffic jammed up on Burroughs Avenue. Northbound side also heavy from the 11th Street Bridge over towards Eastern Avenue. Northbound 270 before Clapper Road, an incident moved to the right. Some delays remain, and the main lanes are slow northbound through Bethesda, and from 370 to Middlebrook Road, and more delays heading in towards Clarksburg. Still a slow go on westbound 66 between Fair Oaks and Business 234, but the earlier incidents in Centerville cleared away, and 95 still jams up southbound from the Beltway to the Prince William Parkway. NationalGarageRepair.com, the WMAL Stormwatch 7 forecast.
Tonight, clearing, a low around 40. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, windy, a high near 55.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Making sense of your world.
This is no conspiracy theory. This is a fact. Here it is.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 to 9 p.m.
Listen to this, would you?
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news. Making sense of your world on the go. Stream your favorite shows, get the day's top headlines, and access our podcast archives, all with the new WMAL app.
This is for you.
Get the WMAL app on Google Play or the Apple App Store, and stay connected.
Ever wonder why your business doesn't show up on online search maps, but your competitors do? It's hundreds of things. Things that Cumulus Boost can identify and fix. And that's how we boost your findability. CumulusBoost.com. CUMULUS Boost.com.
My baby brother, a father.
Come on, it's time for his nap. Whoa, he can't sleep on his stomach. Babies should always sleep on their backs in a safety-approved crib, and the sleep area should be clear of blankets, toys, and other loose or soft items. It reduces the risk of SIDS.
SIDS?
You know, sudden infant death syndrome.
Guess I need to start studying up on safe sleep for little man here. Being his favorite uncle comes with big responsibilities.
For more information, visit safetosleep.nichd.nih.gov. Sponsored by the Eunice Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development.
Why did I wait so long to see a retina specialist?
Retinal disease can steal your eyesight, but it doesn't have to. Patients who seek care from a retina specialist have the best chance of preventing vision loss due to age-related macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy. AMD symptoms to look out for are distortion or warping of straight lines, as well as blurred or loss of central vision. Patients with diabetic retinopathy should seek treatment if they notice the appearance of spots or floaters or blurred and distorted vision. Visit seeforalifetime.org.
History, economics, they're great works of literature. Did you study these things in school? Even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free online courses, including their newest course on totalitarian novels. In this free 8-lecture course, you learn from Hillsdale College president Larry Arnn as he reads and goes in depth on 4 novels. 1984, Brave New World, Darkness at Noon, and That Hideous Strength. Even though these novels were written in the 1930s and 40s, they're highly relevant today. as they show what a tyrannical government does to human nature. And perhaps more importantly, they can show us that faith, family, and friends are worth fighting for. Maybe you read these books long ago in school. Maybe you heard others talk about them. They seem a little bit intimidating. Let Hillsdale College be your guide and help you make the most of them. Go right now to levinforhillsdale.com to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's Levin, Levin, for Hillsdale.com to register. Levin for Hillsdale.com.
Making sense of your world.
There are a lot of things that really tick me off. News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news. WMAL. Making sense of social media. Because big tech can't be trusted. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
It is time to put your wallet where your values are. If you really want a voice that represents your values, you want AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. It was created to champion the needs of Americans who believe in faith, family, and freedom. And, members, they gain access to incredible member benefits, including the award-winning AMAC magazine. From exclusive discounts on travel, insurance, everyday services, to a strong voice in Washington, the Association of Mature American Citizens, they're here. They're making a difference in your life and our nation. Now, joining AMAC, not just about the benefits, regardless of your age, it's about belonging to a community that stands for timeless American values, the values that we're actively working to restore right now. So in honor of President Trump's first 100 days in office, well, AMAC offering an incredible deal. Enroll in a 5-year AMAC membership and do it for 47% off. 47% off. Normally $60. Join today for only $32. Just visit amac.us/Levin. That's amac.us/Levin. Do it today. Take advantage of the special offer. Again, that's amac.us/Levin. Become part of a movement that stands for you, your family, and your future.
I say vote for the ACLU. I know what their agenda is. They want to make America look bad. They want to make Commander in Chief President Trump look bad. They're top-notch, top-tier facilities run by professionals where they bend over backwards to make sure that medical, dental, healthcare, food, religious accommodations, language accommodations all exist.
Always nice to have a defense secretary that has it said, isn't it? That was Pete Hegseth at Gitmo with Fox News yesterday, calling out the ACLU. And you take a look at all these organizations that are standing in the way, trying to obstruct the agenda. I mean, what world does the ACLU live in where they're concerned illegal immigrants? They're fighting for illegal immigrants at this point, and not even in a legitimate way. I mean, I always say if the premise of anything is false, anything built in that premise is false too. They're not here legally, and the ACLU is spending resources to try to defend those who are federal criminals. It is a remarkable thing. But you know what else is a remarkable thing? A big, beautiful bill. Yeah, a big, beautiful bill. Because, well, Trump's agenda does depend on it. And when you think of something that is big and beautiful, what comes to mind? Big and beautiful. Go. The ocean? The ocean, I think, is big and beautiful. You could even take a look across the country. Say, you know what? Country, big and beautiful. If you're thinking about your wife right now, that could come back to get you. Kidding. Even if politics comes to mind, the closest analogy that might apply, I don't know, Mar-a-Lago, the winter White House, that is a big, beautiful thing. But until now, with Trump's big, beautiful bill, the last place you would ever take a look at and think, man, something big and beautiful is happening in that place, Congress. You would never take a look at Congress and go, anything big and beautiful is taking place, unless there is, I don't know, a member of Congress that you happen to think is big and beautiful. But as we take a look at President Trump's A plan for enacting his agenda, it's moved forward in a big way this week. The big, beautiful bill. One big piece of legislation that pulls together everything. The president's border agenda, his energy agenda, his defense, and his tax priorities. And so that is what took a huge step forward Tuesday night. That is what MAGA relies on at this point. I'll break that down a bit. How about that? Spry Mud in for great one, Mark Levin.
Making sense of your world.
Greatly appreciated.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
I love listening to you.
Making sense of the news.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
As a young adult at this point in your life, you probably have a lot of questions. Like, what's next? What does my future hold? The thing is, there's no right answer, only your answer. Your friendships, experiences, and purpose. It's all your choice. So what will you choose? As you make choices about the future, the military can be a resource for information to help bring a fulfilling path into focus. A public service message from the Department of Defense. To learn more, visit todaysmilitary.com.
Making sense of the media.
The news media is attacking him because this is what happens when you're a Republican.
This plan, weekdays 9 to noon.
Our news media, Billy.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
This is my new best friend, Esther. She might look like any normal, playful puppy, but Esther's being raised to become a canine companion for independent assistance dog for a person with a disability. To get there, she needs lots of love and care and attention, plenty of exercise, and good eating habits so that she can live a long and healthy life for her future family. Visit tci.org or call 1-800-572-BARK. Raise a puppy, change a life. You can make a world of difference in the life of a person with a disability.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
It is that time of year when we're all trying to eat healthier. One of the hardest things to give up is sugar. There's a reason why it's so addictive and why you crave it with such intensity. I recently touched on it in the Bittersweet Truth About Sugar. That was an episode of my podcast, Chasing Life. I spoke with Dr. Laura Schmidt. She's a sociologist and a professor of health policy in the School of Medicine at UCSF. If you're trying to cut back on the amount of sugar you consume, she says, the most important thing to start to avoid is liquid sugar. Sodas, sports drinks, energy drinks. They are by far the largest source of added sugars in the American diet, especially for kids, and they have no nutritional value. You need to remember that. Beyond that, you need to do the obvious things. Put those tempting treats out of sight and out of mind, and pay attention to the portion sizes. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. The Stock 105.9. News now.
WMAL News at 7. I'm Heather Curtis. Breaking this hour, good news if you're a recently fired probationary federal worker. A federal judge ordered OPM to rescind directives ordering mass firings of probationary workers in numerous agencies. He says OPM doesn't, quote, have any authority whatsoever under any statute in the history of the universe to hire and fire employees at another agency, unquote. That authority rests in the hands of agency heads, according to the judge. The American Federation of Government Employees sued after OPM told agencies to fire all probationary employees. Many were told they were being fired for cause, despite getting good performance reviews. Union attorneys called it one of the most massive employment frauds in the history of the country. The Justice Department argued the president has inherent constitutional authority to decide whom to hire and fire. And one of the agencies hit hard by the mass firings, the National Park Service. And that ruling could be good news as the Park Service prepares for cherry blossom peak bloom. And we found out today when that's expected to happen.
The iconic cherry trees around the tidal basin in Washington, D.C. will display a spectacular canopy of white blossoms when they reach peak bloom on these predicted dates.
What is Friday, March 28th through Sunday, March 30th, amplified by Jeopardy's Ken Jennings. Festival President Diana Mayhew adds there will be a special tribute this year.
The first ever
Stumpy's Pedal and Paddles race at the tidal basin.
Stumpy, the forlorn yet beloved cherry tree, removed from the tidal basin last May. Barbara Britt, WMAL and WMAL.com.
President Trump making good on tariff promises. Starting on Tuesday, he'll impose tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico and double the tariff on Chinese imports to force countries to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. He acknowledges less than 1% of all fentanyl that comes into the U.S. is apprehended at the Canadian border.
They should be apprehended much more because a lot comes through Canada. And as Mexico gets stronger in terms of the border, it goes up to Canada. And a lot of drugs are coming in through Canada. We can't have that.
He disputed economists who said the added costs would be passed along to American importers and consumers.
I think they're paid for by the country.
After his White House meeting today with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he says he thinks the two allies could make a trade deal that does not involve tariffs. As he awaits confirmation to lead the Virginia State Police, Governor Glenn Youngkin's nominee learned a hard lesson along the way.
If you're going to drink, plan ahead. Have a safe ride. It's that simple.
Now he speaks to groups including Mothers Against Drunk Driving, but Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Hanley was suspended in 1996 as a 24-year-old trooper after a suspected drunk driving incident in which Hanley flipped his cruiser into oncoming traffic. He ran from the scene, then returned. A blood alcohol test was never released. Hanley successfully appealed his suspension and was deemed salvageable as a trooper. He told the Richmond Times-Dispatch the experience taught him accountability, resilience, and growth. With the General Assembly adjourned, Hanley's nomination still needs a vote. Scott Lynn on WMAL and WMAL.com.
D.C. is cracking down on illegal pot shops.
Marijuana is legal in D.C., but Congress does not allow commercial sales, so a soft black market's existed for years. The city council expanded its medical cannabis system in 2023, and shop owners were invited then to apply for licenses. Some did, but many did not. Now, Attorney General Brian Schwab has announced a 6-month operation that's led to the closure of 25 unlicensed shops.
WMAL's John Matthews. Traffic and weather next.
Working hard is worth it if you're seeing results. And when it comes to working out, the same thing is true. You want the maximum benefit in the time you have, and that's exactly what Tonal is built for. And with their latest iteration, Tonal 2, you can ensure your workout is more tailored and effective than ever. Tonal's at-home strength training system uses adaptive weight to learn from your movement and set the optimal weight for every move, adjusting in 1-pound increments up to 250 pounds, challenging even the most advanced users to push their limits. You can also experience a full-body burn with the new Arrowhead workouts, the perfect blend of heart-pumping cardio and strength. Plus, the new built-in Smart View leverages a high-resolution camera that lets you see yourself during your workout, analyzes your movement, and provides real-time coaching, just like a personal trainer. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code TONAL200. That's Tonal.com and use promo code TONAL200 for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code TONAL200 for $200 off.
Here's Michelle Murray in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
Couple of accidents on 295, one on DC 295 southbound at the 11th Street Bridge as traffic jammed up from Burroughs Avenue. Northbound side also heavy from the 11th Street Bridge to Eastern Avenue. And then there was an accident northbound on 295 at South Capitol Street. That has traffic jammed up from Malcolm X Avenue. In the local lanes of 270 northbound at Watkins Mill Road, an accident blocks the left lane and traffic is jammed from 370. Main lanes are slow northbound between Shady Grove Road and Middlebrook Road and between 121 and Route 80. Beltway still a slow go. On the inner loop from Tyson's in towards Bethesda and College Park, and the outer loop still very heavy from the Springfield interchange to the Wilson Bridge. Now from GarageDoorRepair.com, the WMAL Storm Watch 7 forecast.
Tomorrow will be around 50 to 55 degrees, back into the lower to middle 60s on Saturday, and by Sunday, a high just around 40 degrees and wind chill factors in the upper 20s and lower 30s. I'm 7 News meteorologist Steve Rudin in the First Alert Weather Center.
Right now, 57 degrees in Washington. I'm Heather Curtis on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. Mark Levin.
In the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader of time, the dead.
You know, we have a Doge task force at HUD, and so we found $260 million in savings and contracts. 4 million of that was in DEI contracts that were for cultural transformation. So it has nothing to do with the mission of HUD, and also an additional $1.9 billion in misplaced funds. And so, you know, part of being servant leaders like Brooke and I and our cabinet colleagues is to be good stewards of American taxpayer dollars.
Amen. Isn't that refreshing? That is Scott Turner. That is your new HUD secretary. You know, I love the good Dr. Ben Carson. He was the HUD secretary under Trump 1.0. But man, you got to love Scott Turner here. And it just like that, they just paid attention a little bit. Hey, we did our own Doge here because President Trump, through an executive order, has tasked every department head with going through their agencies, finding cost savings and opportunities to reduce headcount. And just like that, I mean, an initial review, $260 million in savings. Just with a little effort. So when all the fear mongers are out there trying to scare people, oh my gosh, people are going to die, it's going to be the end of the world, you are the one being scammed. You are actually the person here being scammed, unless you are the scammer. You know, if you're on the take, I get your reluctance. But if you're just a tax-paying slob like me, then
I have company, so I have to go. Sorry, but I gotta go.
Why in the world would you
I
not
might be back later. I might not. They just coming in the house right now. I gotta go.
Tonight, unfortunately, Mark is a little under the weather.
I'll be
today,
back.
But we do believe that he is going to be back and strong and ready to rock tomorrow. So.